The rejected widow bought the giant Comanche at auction, her last $50 clutched in trembling hands. The town square baked under merciless sun. Dust swirled between the crowd and the wooden platform where Arthur Morgan stood chained. 6 feet 4 inches of defiance, broad shoulders, scars mapping his bronze skin like territorial lines. His dark eyes swept the jeering faces with calm assessment. No fear, no shame. Just the quiet intensity of a predator calculating odds. Eliza Bennett pressed closer to the front. Her black dress clung to her thin frame. Sweat beaded on her forehead. Beneath the worn bonnet, the auctioneer's voice boomed over the crowd. "What am I bid for this savage? He's bound for the gallows tomorrow." Sheriff Dutch van der Linde stepped forward. His badge caught the light. A cold smile played at his mouth. $40. I'll make him dance before he hangs." The crowd laughed. Ugly sounds. Eliza's stomach twisted. She knew about dancing for cruel men, about being caged, about waiting for death. Her voice cracked the air. $50. Silence dropped like a stone. Heads turned. Eyes widened. The murder widow. The woman who killed her husband. No respectable person would sell her a horse. Now she wanted to buy a condemned warrior. Dutch's face darkened. His hand moved to his gun. "You'll regret this, Mrs. Bennett." The auctioneer's gavel fell. "Sold to the lady in black." Arthur's gaze found hers across the space. Something passed between them. Recognition. Two outcasts in a world that wanted them dead. The chains rattled as guards prepared to transfer him. Eliza signed the papers with shaking hands. The ink seemed to seal more than a transaction. It marked a choice, a desperate gamble. The crowd dispersed with muttered threats and sideways glances. The ride to her ranch passed in silence. Arthur sat in the wagon bed, wrists still bound. His presence filled the space around him. Eliza felt his eyes studying the landscape, marking escape routes, counting threats. Her ranch squatted against the horizon like a wounded animal. Broken fences, sagging barn, fields choked with weeds. The house leaned slightly east, surrendering to years of wind and neglect. She helped him down from the wagon. His boots hit the dirt with finality. He stood motionless, absorbing the place. The emptiness. The failure written in rotting wood and rusted nails. "This is it," she said. Her voice sounded small against the vast sky. Arthur said nothing. His eyes moved from the house to the barn to the hills beyond. Always the hills. Always watching. For something she couldn't see. Inside the barn, she secured his chains to a support beam. The metal sang against wood. He tested the bonds once, twice, then settled into stillness. "Waiting, I'll bring food," she said. Still no response. She left him there in the dusty half-light, surrounded by the ghosts of better days. The kitchen held the smell of old smoke and loneliness. Eliza prepared a plate of bread and beans. Her hands moved automatically. Her mind raced through possibilities. All of them led to disaster. The foreclosure notice lay on the table. 30 days. She had 30 days to save a dying ranch with no money, no help, and now a condemned prisoner eating her dwindling supplies. Outside, evening painted the sky blood red. She carried the food to the barn. Arthur hadn't moved. He sat with his back against the beam, legs stretched before him. His presence commanded the space despite the chains. She set the plate within reach. He didn't acknowledge it. Didn't acknowledge her. The silence stretched between them like a held breath. "I saved your life," she said finally. "The least you can do is help me save mine." His eyes lifted. Met hers. Something flickered there. Amusement, curiosity, calculation. Then the mask returned. Stone-faced, unreachable. She left him with the food and the gathering darkness. That night, she lay awake, listening to the wind test the house's weak joints. Every sound made her jump. Every creak might be Arthur, chains broken, coming to finish what the town expected. But morning came quiet, no blood, no violence. Just the same hollow silence that had filled her days since becoming a widow. She found him exactly where she'd left him. The empty plate sat beside him. He'd eaten. A small victory. A sign of cooperation. Or simply survival instinct. The work began that day. Mending fences, clearing fields, tasks that required two people. She would untie his leg chains but leave his wrists bound. He would work without complaint or comment. His movements were economical, efficient, the work of a man who understood labor. But his eyes never stopped moving, scanning, assessing. She caught him studying the hills frequently. The same hills Dutch's men used for watching. The same hills that held threats she couldn't name. Days passed in this routine. Dawn to dusk. Work and silence. She began to notice things. The way he favored his left leg. Old. Wound. The careful way he moved through doorways. Prison habits. The intelligence in his eyes that contradicted everything the town believed about him. Strange accidents began. Broken fence posts, spooked cattle, tools gone missing. Someone wanted her to fail, to give up, to make the choice easy. Arthur noticed too. She saw him examining the sabotage with the focus of a hunter reading tracks. He knew things, saw things, understood threats in ways she never could. The storm came without warning. Black clouds boiled over the horizon. Rain lashed the windows. Thunder shook the weak foundations. She huddled in the kitchen, listening to the house protest against nature's violence. Then she heard it. The sound of breaking metal, chains snapping. Her blood froze. This was it, the moment Dutch had predicted. The moment the town expected. Footsteps approached, heavy, deliberate. She pressed against the wall, heart hammering. The door opened. Arthur filled the frame, free hands hanging at his sides. He stepped into the kitchen. Water dripped from his hair. His eyes found hers across. The small space, no violence there. No threat, something else entirely. You're being watched. His voice was deep, cultured, perfect English. 3 men in the hills. The world shifted. Everything she'd believed cracked open. The savage could speak, could think, could choose to protect instead of destroy. Thunder crashed overhead. Lightning illuminated his face. Strong features, intelligent eyes. A man, not a monster. Why? She whispered. He stood there dripping, unchained, dangerous. Free to leave, free to kill, free to disappear into the storm. Instead, he stayed. Instead, he warned her. Instead, he chose her side in a war she was only beginning to understand. The storm passed. Dawn broke gray and uncertain. Eliza sat at her kitchen table, hands wrapped around cold coffee. Arthur had returned to the barn after his warning. No chains. No locks, just choice. Trust felt foreign on her tongue. Strange in her chest. Men had taught her to expect violence, to flinch at footsteps, to sleep with one eye open. But Arthur had broken free and chosen protection over escape. She found him mending the fence line. His hands moved with practiced precision. No wasted motion. The work of a man who understood tools, who valued craftsmanship. You could have left, she sighed. He drove another nail, true and straight. Where would I go? The question hung between them, a wanted man, a condemned warrior, an outcast in a world that offered no sanctuary. Your people, my people think I'm dead. He set down the hammer, met her eyes. Maybe they're right. The rawness in his voice cut through her defenses. She knew about death, about becoming a ghost in your own life, about surviving when the world wanted you buried. They worked in comfortable silence. The sun climbed higher. Sweat beaded on their skin. The land began to respond to their care. Fences straightened. Fields cleared. Hope crept in through cracks in despair. Arthur taught her to read the landscape, to spot disturbed earth, to identify tracks in dust, to feel the weight of watching eyes. 3 riders, he said, pointing to barely visible impressions. Same horses, same pattern. They come at dawn. She saw nothing. He saw everything. The education of survival written in bent grass and scattered stones. Dutch's men, always watching, always waiting. The pressure of their attention settled on her shoulders like a yoke. What do they want? You to break. Arthur's voice carried certainty. You to run. You to make their job easy. She thought of her husband, of his fists, of the way he'd cornered her in this same kitchen, of the moment desperation became action, of the silence that followed. I won't run. Something shifted in Arthur's expression, approval, recognition, the acknowledgement of shared steel. The first ranch hand quit on Tuesday. Tom Morrison had worked the land for 10 years. His face was apologetic but firm. Nothing personal, Mrs. Bennett, but folks are talking about you keeping that savage, about what might happen. What might happen? The threat lived in imagination, in whispered fears, in the space between what was and what could be. Wednesday brought the second departure, then the third. By week's end, only Eliza and Arthur remained. The ranch felt vast and empty, vulnerable. Supply deliveries stopped. The general store found excuses, delays, complications. The town's message was clear. Choose sides. Choose survival. Eliza's pantry emptied. Her coin purse grew light. The can-do. Foreclosure notice seemed a mocker from the kitchen table. 23 days, then 22, then 21. Arthur watched her count dwindling supplies. His jaw tightened. Something dangerous flickered in his eyes. I know where to find food, he said. She looked up from empty flour sacks. Where? The land provides, if you know how to ask. He led her to the creek, showed her which plants nourished. Which healed, which killed. His knowledge ran deep as root systems. Ancient wisdom passed through generations. They gathered wild onions, caught fish in improvised traps, found protein in places she'd never imagined. The land yielded its secrets reluctantly. But it yielded. How do you know all this? My grandmother. His voice softened. She said the earth remembers everything. You just have to listen. He spoke of his people rarely, in fragments, like pulling arrows from wounds. Each memory cost him something. The war party appeared on a Thursday, shadows on the ridgeline. Mounted figures watching the ranch with patient intensity. Arthur spotted them first. Comanche, he said simply. Fear crawled up her spine. Hostile, curious. He studied the distant riders. They're looking for someone. The someone was obvious. Arthur, the lost warrior. The missing piece of a broken tribe. That night, she heard him singing, low and rhythmic. Words in a language that predated fences and property lines. The sound carried longing, loss, the weight of bridges burned. They're your people, she said the next morning. Were. He adjusted, his hat against the sun. Now they're strangers. Because of me, because of choice. The choice hung between them. Unspoken, but understood. He'd chosen her world over his. Her survival over his freedom. Her future over his past. The weight of that sacrifice settled in her chest. Heavy, precious, terrifying. Friday brought rustlers. 3 men with hard faces and easy violence. They came for cattle but found resistance. Arthur moved with fluid grace. Economical motion. The fighting style of a man who'd learned survival young. No blood spilled, no lives lost, just demonstration. A showing of capability. Of protection offered and delivered. The rustlers retreated. But the message was sent. The ranch was defended. The widow was not alone. Saturday brought fever. Arthur collapsed while mending the barn roof. The fall should have killed him. Instead, he lay unconscious in the dirt, body burning with internal fire. Eliza dragged him to the house, to her bed, to the space where her husband had died, where she'd fought for her life and won. She cooled his skin with wet cloths, forced water between parched lips, watched his chest rise and fall with labored rhythm. In delirium, he spoke, Comanche words tumbling over English, past bleeding into present, truth spilling from fever's broken dam. She fought him, he muttered, fought for her life. No shame in surviving. The words hit her like physical blows. He'd seen. He'd witnessed. He knew the truth about her husband's death. Blood on her hands, he continued. But his blood, his choice, his violence. She gripped his burning hand. This man, this witness, this keeper of her darkest moment. She's not a killer, he whispered. She's a survivor. The fever broke at dawn. Arthur's eyes opened, clear, focused, aware. He looked at her sitting beside the bed, at the exhaustion in her face, at the care she'd given. You stayed, he said. You stayed first. Understanding passed between them. The recognition of mutual choice, of shared burden, of two broken people choosing to remain whole together. Outside, the watchers waited. Dutch's men on one side, the war party on the other, both patient, both predatory, both certain their time would come. But inside the small house, something new was growing. Fragile as prairie grass, strong as root systems, deep as the earth's memory. Arthur sat up slowly. His hand found hers. Calloused fingers, working man's grip. The touch of someone who understood. Labor, who valued effort. Who knew the cost of survival. 18 days, she said, looking at the foreclosure notice. 18 days, he agreed. But now they would face them together. Two outcasts, two survivors. Two people who'd found in each other something the world had tried to destroy. The wind picked up outside. Dust swirled against the windows. The land called to them both, demanding attention, demanding choice, demanding everything they had left to give. The fever's truth settled between them like dust after wind. Arthur knew her secret, had carried it, had chosen her anyway. 3 days remained until foreclosure. The crops grew thick in fields they'd cleared together, enough to pay the debt, enough to buy another season, another chance. But harvesting required time they didn't have, hands they lacked, strength that 18 days of struggle had drained from their bones. Arthur worked despite the fever's lingering weakness. His movements were measured, careful, the precision of a man who understood his limitations. You should rest, Eliza said. Rest comes after survival. The wheat fell to their shared rhythm, scythe and gather, bundle and stack. The sun climbed higher. Sweat stung their eyes. The pile grew slowly, too slowly. Dutch arrived with the noon heat. His badge caught the light. His smile promised nothing good. A warrant hung from his fingers like a dead thing. Arrest warrant for your pet savage, he called from the road. Threatening behavior, disturbing the peace. Arthur's hand stilled on the side handle. The trap was closing. They'd waited for this moment, when the crops were ready, when leaving meant losing everything. He's done nothing, Eliza said. Your word against the town's. Dutch's eyes swept the harvested wheat. Shame to lose all this work. The message was clear. Hand over Arthur or watch everything burn. Choose the man or choose the land. Choose. Love or choose survival. Arthur stepped forward. The scythe hung loose in his grip. I'll come. No. Eliza's voice cut sharp. We finish this together. Dutch's smile widened. 3 days, Mrs. Bennett. Then I come back with more men. More warrants. More problems. He rode away. Dust marked his passage. The threat lingered in the air like smoke. The war party moved closer that evening. Shadows became shapes. Shapes became men. Mounted warriors with patient eyes and ready weapons. Arthur watched them from the porch. His posture shifted, straighter, alert, the bearing of a man remembering who he'd been. "They're here for you," Eliza said. "Yes, will you go?" The question hung between them, heavy as thunderclouds, weighted with possibility. My war brother leads them. Micah Bell. We fought together, bled together, shared the same fires. Memory roughened his voice, the pull of brotherhood, of shared blood, of a world that had shaped him before chains and auctions and desperate widows. "He offers freedom," Arthur continued. "Return to the people, return to the old ways. And me?" Arthur's hand found hers, calloused fingers. "Working man's grip. You offer something else." "What?" "Choice." The words settled between them, simple, profound. The difference between running from the past and building toward the future. Night brought visitors. Micah Bell rode alone to the house. No weapons drawn, no threats spoken. Just the quiet authority of a man who'd never learned to doubt himself. He was Arthur's height, broader through the chest. Scars mapped his face in silver lines. War paint streaked his cheeks, the old ways worn openly. "Brother," he said to Arthur. The word carried weight. History, obligation. Arthur stepped off the porch. The two men faced each other in the yard, past and present. Brotherhood and betrayal. The space between them hummed with tension. "You were captured," Micah said. "We mourned you. I was sold, like livestock. Now you're free. Come home." Arthur's jaw tightened. "This is home." Micah's eyes found Eliza, assessed her, measured her worth against a lifetime of shared battles. His expression remained neutral, professional. "She's made you weak," he said. "She's made me choose. Between your people and your captor?" The accusation hung in the air, poison wrapped in truth. Arthur had chosen. The question was whether he'd chosen correctly. "Between the past and the future," Arthur said. "Between running and standing." Micah studied the ranch. The cleared fields, the mended fences. The evidence of shared labor, shared purpose, shared hope. "The army comes," he said finally. "More soldiers, more chains, more auctions. Then we fight, we?" Arthur's hand moved to Eliza's shoulder. Protective, possessive, the gesture of a man who'd found something worth defending. "We," he confirmed. Micah nodded slowly. Understanding passed between them. The recognition of irrevocable choice. Of bridges burned. Of new alliances forged in unexpected fires. 3 days, Micah said. Then we ride north, with or without you." He mounted his horse, paused at the edge of the yard. "She fights well for a captive. She fights well for a woman who's found. Her strength," Micah's smile was brief, approving. "Then may your strength be enough." He rode into darkness. The war party followed. Shadows melting into night, the immediate threat lifted. But the clock still ticked. 2 days remained. The harvest continued, frantic now. Desperate. Every stalk cut brought them closer to salvation. Every bundle stacked was a small victory against time. Federal marshals arrived on the 2nd day. Official men with official papers. They asked questions about Arthur, about the ranch, about the circumstances of her husband's death. Arthur answered carefully, truthfully, the educated voice that had surprised her that first stormy night. The intelligence that contradicted every assumption about savages in civilization. The marshals left with thoughtful expressions. No arrests. No accusations. Just the weight of federal attention. Of larger forces taking notice. "They're not here for you," Eliza realized. "They're here for Dutch," Arthur nodded. "Corruption has a smell. They're following the scent." Hope flickered. Fragile as candlelight. Maybe the law would solve what violence couldn't. Maybe justice existed beyond the reach of local tyranny. The final day dawned clear, perfect for harvest, perfect for endings, perfect for new beginnings. They worked in focused silence. The pile of wheat grew. The debt's weight lifted with each bundle. Victory tasted like sweat and determination. Dutch arrived with the setting sun. Armed men flanked him. The final play. In a rigged game, his smile was all teeth and malice. "Time's up," he called. "Payment due." Eliza straightened. Her dress was dirty. Her hands were raw. Her back ached from the day's labor. But her voice was steady. "We have it," she gestured to the stacked wheat, to the evidence of their shared struggle, to the proof that some things couldn't be stolen or destroyed. Dutch's smile faltered. He'd expected failure, counted on it, built his plans around their collapse. "Money," he said. "The bank wants money. The bank wants payment. This is payment." Arthur stepped beside her, united front, shared strength. The partnership that had carried them through 18 days of hell. "Course," Dutch continued, "there's still the matter of harboring a fugitive, still the matter of disturbing the peace, still the matter of justice." His hand moved to his gun. The threat was clear. If law wouldn't serve, violence would. But Arthur smiled. The first genuine smile Eliza had seen from him. Confident, knowing, the expression of a man holding winning cards. "About that," Arthur said, "there's something you should know." Arthur's smile widened. His hand moved to his shirt pocket, drew out a folded paper. The edges were worn. The creases spoke of careful handling. "Federal land grant," he said, "signed by the territorial governor. This ranch sits on treaty land, protected land." Dutch's face darkened. "That's impossible. Your railroad deal, your buyers, your corruption." Arthur's voice carried quiet satisfaction. "All built on stolen ground." The paper passed from Arthur's hands to Eliza's. The words were formal, legal, binding, protection written in government ink. "How?" she whispered. "The marshals. They came for information. I gave them what they needed. Names, dates, locations of illegal surveys." Arthur had played the longer game. While Dutch schemed for quick profit, Arthur had built a legal fortress, stone by stone, law by law, truth by truth. Hoofbeats announced new arrivals. Federal marshals rode from the east. Micah's war party approached from the north. All forces converging on the small ranch, all debts coming due. The lead marshal dismounted. His badge carried more weight than Dutch's. His authority stretched beyond county lines, beyond local corruption. "Sheriff van der Linde," he said, "you're under arrest for fraud, bribery, conspiracy to defraud the federal government." Dutch's hand moved toward his gun. Stopped. Too many witnesses, too many armed men. Too much evidence stacked against him. "This is a mistake," he said. "The mistake was thinking you could steal treaty land." The marshal's voice was flat, professional. "Thinking you could auction what was never yours to sell." The cuffs clicked closed. Dutch's men scattered. Fair weather loyalty evaporating under federal heat. The corruption crumbled. Built on sand, swept away by justice, Micah rode into the yard. His war party flanked him. Weapons ready but not raised. The careful balance of men who understood power, who respected strength. He studied the scene. The arrested sheriff, the federal marshals, the harvested wheat. The evidence of Arthur's choice made manifest. "Brother," he said to Arthur, "you've chosen your path." "I have, then walk it well." Micah's gaze found Eliza, measured her again, saw something different now. The woman who'd stood beside Arthur through corruption and threat. Who'd fought for ground worth defending. "You fought well," he said to her. "We fought well," she corrected. Micah nodded. Understanding passed between them. the recognition of partnership, of shared strength, of two people who'd found in each other what the world had tried to destroy. "The old ways are dying," Micah said to Arthur. "Perhaps new ways can be born." He wheeled his horse. The war party followed, shadows melting into distance, the past releasing its claim, the future opening its arms. The marshals completed their business. Dutch disappeared into custody, his men scattered to the winds. The threat that had hung over the ranch for 18 days lifted with the setting sun. Eliza stood in her yard, her land, her home. The deed secure in her hands, the debt paid in sweat and wheat. The future stretching before her like cleared fields. Arthur stood beside her, free by law, free by choice, free by the bonds they'd forged in fire and struggle. "What now?" she asked. "Now we plant." The simple words carried weight, promise, the commitment to growth, to seasons, to the long work of building something permanent. They walked the fields together. The land responded to their footsteps, rich earth, good soil, the foundation for whatever came next. "The town will talk," Eliza said. "Let them. They'll whisper. They'll judge. They've always judged us," Arthur said. His rough, calloused hand found hers, the grip of someone who knew hard work, who valued effort, who understood the cost of survival. "We have something they don't," he said. "What's that?" "Each other." The words settled between them, simple, powerful. The truth that had carried them through 18 days of hardship, and would carry them through whatever came next. That evening painted the sky in gold and red. The ranch settled into calm silence, no watchers in the hills, no hidden threats, just the quiet peace of the day's work finished. They sat on the porch, the same porch where Arthur had once spoken of those who watched, where choices had been made, where paths had changed. The widow they cast aside. Arthur said softly, "The fighter they wanted gone," Eliza replied. "They found what they needed most. Each other." The stars appeared, distant lights in a wide sky, the same stars that had watched over their struggle and would witness their future. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new seasons, new tests of their bond. But tonight was theirs. Tonight was calm. Arthur's arm wrapped around her shoulders, protective, certain. The gesture of a man who had found his place, his purpose, his home. Eliza leaned into him, steady, warm, alive. This was the man who had seen her at her lowest and stayed, who gave up his past to build their future, who showed her that real strength is found in standing together. A breeze stirred the yard, dust swirling in the fading light. The land called to them, their land, their home, their future. Two people the world had pushed aside, who had found something lasting together. Love, hope, the courage to build something strong from what they'd lost. The moon rose, casting silver light over the ranch, the fields they cleared, the fences they repaired, the proof of shared work, shared dreams. And in the distance, just barely heard, the sound of new life beginning, seeds settling in, the ground softening, the earth ready for whatever would grow from the choices they made, together. And that's the story for now. Let me know where you're watching from. Maybe we'll create the next story there. If you enjoyed this, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And if you love our stories, tap the video on your screen now. You won't regret it. See you tomorrow.